Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a brand new red line drawn by the Pentagon. It's a rule that's forcing some of the world's biggest consulting firms to make a huge choice. You can work for the US government, or you can work for its strategic rivals, but you can't do both.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the problem this whole thing is trying to solve, this idea of double dipping. Then we'll unpack the new rule itself, the big choice it forces on companies, who exactly is on the no-go list, and finally, we'll get to the bottom line of why this is such a big deal.
All right, first things first. To really wrap our heads around this new rule, we've got to understand the core conflict the Pentagon is trying to shut down. And it's a big one, a pretty dangerous case of what you could call double dipping.
So let me just ask you this. Imagine it's the Super Bowl. Would you want your star quarterback strategy coach to also be on the payroll of the opposing team? Probably not, right? Well, that's exactly the kind of scenario we're talking about here, just with much higher stakes.
And this right here, this is the heart of the whole issue. On one side, you've got the U.S. Department of Defense, whose entire mission is to maintain national security. They need advice they can trust, completely unbiased. On the other side, you have foreign powers who, well, let's just say their interests don't always align with the U.S. When the same brilliant minds are advising both sides, that's not just a conflict of interest, you're looking at a massive national security risk.
So, you can imagine, faced with a risk like that, the Pentagon wasn't just going to send out a memo. Nope. It created a very specific, very targeted new rule to draw a clear line in the sand. Let's take a look at what that rule actually is.
Okay, so the official name, yeah, it's a mouthful, DFARS 252.209-7012. Now, DFARS just stands for the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. You can just think of it as the official rulebook for anyone who wants to do business with the DoD. And this new rule basically says the Pentagon can't hire consulting firms that are also working for certain foreign adversaries, unless they have a really, really strict safety plan in place. And you know, a rule this big doesn't just pop up overnight. It had a journey. It started with Congress giving it the green light back in the 2024 Defense Act. Then the DoD drafted a proposal, let the public weigh in, and then, boom, they locked in the final rule in August of 2025. It officially went into effect just a couple of months after that.
So if you're one of these big consulting firms, what does this actually mean for you day to day?
Well, it puts you at a crossroads, really. You have to make a very clear choice. You either certify or you mitigate.
So here they are, the two paths. Path A is the clean and simple one. Your company does a thorough check, and if you have absolutely zero contracts with these restricted foreign entities, you just certify that. Easy. But if the answer is yes, well, then you're heading down path B. And that means you have to create and follow a formal mitigation plan that the government itself has to approve.
Okay, so that obviously leads to the next big question. Who exactly is on this restricted client list? I mean, who are we talking about here? The rule is actually very specific.
The official term the rule uses is a covered foreign entity. And you might think that sounds kind of vague, but trust me, it's not. It points to a very precise list of governments and organizations that the U.S. has already flagged as potential security risks.
And wow, when you look at the list, you see just how broad it is. I mean, of course, you've got the governments of China and Russia right at the top, but look closer. It also includes any group sanctioned by the Treasury Department, any state sponsor of terrorism, and a whole bunch of companies on various U.S. government watch lists. The big takeaway here is that this net is cast very, very wide.
All right, so for any company that has to go down path B, the one with the foreign clients, they've got to build this safety plan. And let's be really clear here. This mitigation plan isn't just about filling out some forms. This is a serious binding commitment.
The plan itself has to get a stamp of approval from a contracting officer and get written right into the legal contract. But the real keyword on this slide is auditable. That means that at any time, government watchdogs, like the Defense Contract Audit Agency, can come knock in and say, prove to us you're actually doing what you promised. There's no hiding.
Think of it like building a digital and human firewall. It's built on 3 core pillars. First, you have to come clean and list all your contracts with these foreign entities. Second, you have to explain exactly how you're going to neutralize the conflict. And third, and this is the big one, you have to have strict procedures to make sure the same people aren't working on both sides of that wall.
Okay, so we've walked through the problem, the rule, and what companies have to do. Now let's zoom out and really hit the bottom line. Why does this new rule matter so much?
So when you boil it all down, what are the big takeaways? First, This is laser-focused on a specific industry, management and tech consultant. That code you see is just the government's way of categorizing them. Second, it's not just for the big prime contractors. It applies to all their subcontractors too. Third, it forces that decisive choice we talked about, get clean or build a wall. And finally, and most importantly, this is a major strategic shift. It's about securing the entire supply chain of advice that the Pentagon relies on.
And that really brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of all of this. In a world where business is global, where do you draw the line between a good business deal and a potential national security threat? There are no easy answers, but with this new rule, the Pentagon is making it very clear where that line now sits for them.
Thanks for watching. I'm Nancy, your AI avatar. If you like this podcast, you can get one for yourself based on a website, YouTube video, or any source. Contact me to get a customized quote for your content. See you soon.